The new Whirlpool W collection with sixth sense technology that fully guides you to achieve perfect results. Whirlpool, sensing the difference.
Thanks for staying with us. Hope you're well this Saturday morning. The glucose levels have dropped, so it's time for a sugar rush. And luckily, Krissy Gibson has joined us to give us just that. Good morning, Krissy.
I will take care of you with the sugar.
Cake for breakfast, come on.
So this is actually a breakfast cake. Now, coffee cake on the other side of the ocean is a cake that you eat with coffee. It isn't a cake with coffee in it. It's much like we would eat a tea cake with tea here.
Okay.
So
don't be confused by that.
Right.
It's not
and
coffee
we've made
flavored.
coffee cake on the show before. It was a Danish kringle, a different type of coffee cake. So today we're making a sticky pecan or pecan coffee cake, and we're starting with 15 grams of dry yeast. Now, it's a good bit of yeast. If you use the packets of it, this would be 2 of those packets, okay? And we're going to add it to 110 mils of warm water. Good and warm now, not piping hot, but what we want is to dissolve this yeast in there and activate the yeast. The warm water is doing that job for us, activating the yeast.
Okay.
So I'm just going to give this a good stir and set it aside for a few minutes while we move on.
Okay, careful not to boil the water.
Yeah, no, not boiled, not even hot.
Okay.
Just good and warm. You know, you want it, it's definitely warmer than room temperature. That's going to activate the yeast for you. We're going to set that aside. Now over here, in a double boiler, I have 180 mils of full fat milk and 60 grams of butter. I'm going to add just a teaspoon of pure vanilla extract, that's 5 mils. Also about 5 grams of salt, okay? And 60 grams of sugar, white sugar. Now, if you prefer to do this step in a microwave, you can.
Okay.
Okay, in a
Well, that could be quite
microwave-safe
handy.
bowl. So we're bringing this not up to a boil, but we're scalding it, okay? So this milk will be, it'll have a nice sort of steam coming off of it, and you'll know it's warm enough if your butter is fully melted, okay? So now we're taking these 5 ingredients, and we are going to add them to our yeast. And we're also adding 1 egg, okay?
Okay, are we doing this in real time now, or would that butter have been melting a little longer?
It would have been melting a little longer. I cheated, as I always do, and I started before we started.
Gotcha. Okay, so a little longer on that.
Yeah, it's going to take a few minutes, but all the while you're letting your yeast activate, okay? Now, I've got my milk and butter mixture. Now I have my egg and my yeast, okay? So I'm going to add all of these together. We've got the egg, we have our activated yeast. I'm cheating here too.
So that would take longer, would it?
Let's leave it 5 minutes, okay?
Not too long.
But we're on TV time today. So now we've got all 3 of those liquids added together in our large bowl, okay? And to that, we're going to add 450 grams of self-raising flour. Now I'll just do half of it at first and give it a quick stir. And you'll notice it's a little bit lumpy, and that's okay. Just keep it going. And when this is incorporated a little better, go ahead and add the rest of it. Now, what you have is a sticky and stretchy cake dough, all right? And we're going to leave it now for a half an hour. This has yeast in it, as you saw, which means it's a yeasted cake, so it's actually going to rise. You don't see a lot of yeasted cakes. I certainly don't work with a lot of yeasted cakes. So it's sort of like a bread dough. We're going to set it aside for a half an hour.
And when it comes back and it's had its growth spurts,
here it is, okay?
Wow.
So after half an hour, that's what we've got. Now, in the meantime, while that is rising, while that's proofing, on the stovetop, which I've now managed to turn off, we're not using our double boiler again, but we are using a saucepan. We're going to melt together and bring to a slight boil how many grams of sugar did I put in here? 220 grams of light muscovado sugar and 180 grams of butter. We're melting these together, okay? We're adding 3 grams of cinnamon, which it's about a teaspoon, okay? It doesn't have a lot of weight. Just about 15 mils of water, okay? Hot water, preferably, but it doesn't matter too much. And then this is golden syrup, okay? We're gonna put in 20 grams of golden syrup. What we're doing is we're making a sort of a, well, we're making the sticky part of the pecan cake is what we're doing.
And the sweetness?
Yeah, and you're gonna like the flavor of it. It's quite good. Now, I know we've already added the light muscovado sugar, but yes, we're adding more sugar. This is white sugar again. We're just going to do 25 grams of that, okay? Now, I'm using a whisk because this is going to help me to incorporate all of these ingredients on the hob evenly, okay? We want it nice and even. And I've managed to turn the stove off here, so you guys probably won't see this come to a full boil, but if it comes to a full boil, that's just fine. Now, I'm going to be pouring this on top of my cake, so I'm actually gonna move it out of this heavy, heavy pot. Normally, I'd be putting these pecans in there and mixing it in there, but this pot is a little bit heavy for me, so I'm going to do it the other way today.
Okay, we pop them in with and you've just kind of crushed up the nuts?
Yeah, so your pecans, you can either, I think on your website, on the recipe, I wrote finely chop. Now, if you want to finely chop them, go right ahead. That's great. But you can also coarsely chop them. It's entirely up to you. Today, these aren't so finely chopped as they are coarsely chopped, okay? Now, I have over here a greased casserole dish. There are two ways that you can do this, actually. Do you see what I did here? For this, I used
we're looking at the finished article.
a springform pan, okay? And so I put the pecans on the bottom, the pecan mixture. I put them on the bottom, and I put the cake batter on top, okay? And then I baked that. I wrote about that on the recipe on your website.
Okay, so that's one option.
That is one option, okay? For this one here, I just did it in a casserole dish. Now, this cake, as you can see, it's not going to win any beauty contests, but as my father would say, your stomach won't know the difference. So here we're going to make one like this, okay? Because it's quite easy. Greased casserole dish, we have our finished batter, okay? Now, just take it in spoonfuls, all right? I am putting the dough in first because I'm using a casserole dish. There are two methods that you can do this by. And you just kind of line the bottom of your pan with the batter just so that it's sort of evenly distributed. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so a couple of inches for the base?
Yeah. And you're just gonna put all of the batter in, all of the dough, okay? Now, the last thing we do is, and you see how that's kind of a stretchy dough there? So the last thing we're gonna do is we're gonna make sure that it's even. We're gonna evenly spread it across the bottom, and then we add our pecan mixture over the top, okay? And then we bake it.
Okay, so the oven's on.
160 for about 25 minutes, all right? Now, once I've got all of my pecans on the top, I'm gonna spread it over the top so it'll all be covered. You can use, I wouldn't use a pan so small as 8 by 8. You could use 9 by 13, maybe 10 by 10. Just don't go too small, because then you'll have a really deep cake, a really thick cake, and it won't bake as quickly.
Yeah, okay. So
we're going to do 25 minutes. Aiden,
yes.
give that a taste. I've given you a cup of coffee, too.
Yes, so it's served with coffee, which makes it the...
Hey, it's coffee
cake.
Because it's a cake that you eat with coffee.
But is it going to taste more like toffee?
It might.
Okay.
And I hope you like it. I happen to love pecans.
Oh, it's lovely and warm as well.
Yeah. Well, I gave you a slice out of here, which just came out of the oven.
And that's nice and thick as well. Oh, it's really good.
Can you see how that would be a cake for breakfast?
Absolutely could. Good luck to the porridge. That's
Move
fantastic,
over.
Krissy. That would keep you going for a few hours.
I'm glad you like it, Aiden.
That's the sugar rush we need this morning. Thank you very much,
My
Krissy.
pleasure.
Of course, as always, full recipe details on our website, or you can check out takethecake.ie for more Krissy's recipes and stock us as well. I nearly called you Crispy again this week.
Crispy. I think that was Chris and recipe.
We'll just go with Crispy.
Crispy.
Okay, we are back after this quick break. We'll see you soon.
The new Whirlpool W collection with 6th Sense technology that fully guides you to achieve perfect results. Whirlpool, sensing the difference.